I recently got a camera that was capable of good night photography, a Nikon D750. I got it specifically for a trip to Iceland so I could capture the northern lights, and it worked beautifully for that. But there are other night skies to see, and I wanted to try it out on a more usual sky. This is, of course, astrophotography, but it is astrophotography on the cheap. It requires quite a bit less money than real astrophotography through a telescope, and also a good deal less work. I found I don't tolerate hours out in the cold fiddling with equipment, so this is a good choice for me. I did some images one night, and when I got home I examined them. I became curious about exactly what it was I was seeing. What are all these stars? What kind of stars are there? So I spent some time digging into the information about some of them, and what I found really amazed me. If I found it interesting, I think there are others who will, and I want to share the amazement. I found a dark area and chose a night without a moon to test out this kind of photography. This image is very easy to get. I used a 15mm lens, which gets a big, wide view of the sky. This is simply a 10-second exposure. Here is the constellation Cassiopeia. There are many interesting items here, but we're going to look elsewhere in this presentation. Here is the star cluster Melet 20. And here are the Pleiades. We can look closer at this area. I took a photo of this area with a different lens, a 300mm lens, which amounts to an inexpensive jerry-rigged telescope. And here are the Pleiades. You see a number of stars. With the real telescope, and more importantly with the drive that moves the camera with the Earth, you can get a longer exposure and see the dust clouds around these stars, which we'll see in a minute. This is one of the nearest star clusters to us. The average distance is only 440 light years. The cluster actually consists of about 1,000 stars, only some of which are on this photo. So here again is the image done with my camera setup. And now we're going to see what a real telescope can do. Look at all the dust that the additional exposure will show us that we just can't see with a standard camera. As I said, the Pleiades are very close to us. Here's a diagram of our Milky Way with the Sun in the center and our Orion spur of the Milky Way. We'll expand this area, and the Pleiades are actually located here, the next arm over. Now we'll start to look closer at some of the stars in this image to see what they're like, and we'll start with the stars in the center of the image. Let's look now at the two most obvious stars in this image, Alcyone and Merope. They are not really very close to one another. One is 430 light years distant from us, the other is 385 light years distant from us. The distance to the cluster we noted as 440 light years, and this is an average. Notice the luminance of Alcyone is 2,400 times that of the Sun, and Merope is 630 times that of the Sun. The mass of the two of them is both quite a bit greater than the Sun. Interestingly, Alcyone, while looking like only a single star on our image, is actually 5 stars orbiting one another. The other thing that I found out about them is that they both rotate very quickly. At their equators, the speed of the surface is 510,000 and 665,000 miles per hour. It's so fast that they spin off disks of gas at their equators. Now let's look at some of these stars near to Alcyone. We'll label them 3, 4, and 5. Numbers 3 and 5 are actually quite a bit brighter than the Sun at 5 and almost 10 times the brightness of the Sun. Number 4 is similar to the Sun at 0.6 times the brightness of the Sun. Also want to point out that numbers 4 and 5 are only 163 and 193 light years from us, almost twice as close as Alcyone itself is. We also want to note that these three stars are all not simply single stars, but they're double stars also. And now we'll look at some more stars in this image. 6, 7, and 8 seem similar. However, they are actually quite different. Number 7 in particular is 2,700 light years away from us. While it looks almost adjacent to number 8, it's 4 times as far away. They're not really close to one another. Also note that number 7 is 500 times more luminous than our Sun. Again, these three stars aren't single stars, they're double stars. Now we'll look at two of the fainter stars in the image, labeled 9 and 10, and we'll see what they're about. And number 9 is almost not seen on the image. It's 3 times the luminance of the Sun, and its size is about the same as that of the Sun. Number 10 is only a quarter of the luminance of the Sun, but it's much closer at 125 light years. So close it's probably not really proper to consider this part of the Pleiades cluster. Right here I want to point out something. If the star cluster is on average 440 light years away and our Sun were in it, it would be 3 times as faint as number 9, and we wouldn't even see it. So an observer sitting at the distance of the Pleiades with the sort of equipment I have would not even be able to see our Sun. Now there's an interesting arrangement of the stars leading away from Alcyone, what might be called an asterism being just an odd arrangement of stars. We've got 7 stars here, and if you look at the distances, they're not really that close to one another. They just line up in our line of sight. In fact, number 4 is not even in the Pleiades. It's too far away at 3,200 light years. This star, number 4, is also 727 times the brightness of our Sun. Number 5 and 6, no one's spent the effort to measure the distance to these, and we don't know exactly how luminous they are. So let me tell you the things that I learned that I thought were fascinating. First of all, Alcyone is not 1 star, it's actually 5 stars. Then, Alcyone and Merope rotate astoundingly fast, 665,000 and 510,000 miles per hour at their equators, and they both throw off a lot of gas at the equator because of this rotation. Then, at the distance of the Pleiades, which is really close to us, the Sun wouldn't be seen by my camera at all. Of the 15 stars that I surveyed, only 2 were less bright than the Sun. These 2 were 4 times closer than the Pleiades. The others were substantially brighter, up to 2,400 times brighter. Also, more stars are double or more than single. Of the 17 stars we surveyed, only 4 were single stars. So, thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed it.